Hi, everybody. This is Josh Becerra. Welcome to our next episode of How I Work. I'm so excited to have Tamara Thompson here, founder of Broadcast Your Authority, a content marketing agency. Thanks for being here, Tamara.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of a quick background or bio on you, and then we'll get into it. So, like I said, Tamara, you've got a content marketing agency, Broadcast Your Authority. You're an accredited investor. You've invested in over 25 women-owned companies as well as real estate. I think that's awesome. You're a keynote speaker. You're the host of the Video Marketing for Business podcast. And this will be related to my first question, but in your previous life, you were an award-winning documentary filmmaker. So super excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So tell us about that kind of previous life and your start in video, how that evolved into now having your own agency, and particularly like how you were compelled to focus on YouTube and video podcasts and then like micro content.
Yeah. So I know you and I had a conversation with this off podcast before, so you know a little bit about my background, but I'm excited to share that with your audience today. So what was interesting is later on in life, I realized that what we do today or what my team does today really came from the background of what happened like over a dozen years ago.
Yeah.
And so what went on is, I actually had like a little bit more my deep story. My 20s, I was in the fitness industry and wasn't happy in my life. And I thought it was where I wanted to go, and kind of spiraled into some different avenues in my life in my 20s. And then I actually sobered up at age 30. So I won't go into the deep story there, but a little bit of my context. I changed my life. And so at actually age 29, I went back to school to be in filmmaking. So I was 29, 30, graduating 32 to go into corporate, and then I'll eventually start my own company in the same year. And what happened there was on the sense of, you said award-winning documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
I had a challenge from an instructor at my school. He's since passed away, but he was one of my favorite instructors. And he actually introduced me to Lynn Shelton, who is one of the most known female directors in Hollywood. Amazing. She's actually from Seattle, where I'm from originally. And it was so cool to see like my evolution of what happened and why it happened, and everything happening for a reason. So because I sobered up in life, I was able to go back to school to do something that I was passionate about. I always thought it was a hobby. For a good 4 years, my friends and family said, why don't you do something with video? Like, you love video. YouTube came out. I was doing these funny, like hokey videos. I was like, what's this YouTube beast, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, figure out a way you can turn it into a career and not just be a hobby. Because I don't know about you, but growing up, a lot of people said you can have a career and you can have hobbies. I was like, why not turn a hobby into a career?
Amen.
And then my mindset first shifted there. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. So I went back to film school, but I was in my late 20s, 30s, and everybody around me was like 18, 19, coming out of high school, wanting to do 48-hour film festivals. And I was like, I don't want to shoot 48 hours. I won't need my sleep, right? I'm like 30-year-old. And so I went in a little bit different direction. I had an instructor, Kenny Smith. He encouraged me to direct an entire documentary film and go through the entire process of everything, from creating the outline to producing it, to shooting it, to editing it, to like every role that you had to do in filmmaking. He's like, you do it. I was like, great, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And so I created several documentaries, but I had some that took off. And this one that he was like, submit it into Sundance. And I finished it. And the day it was due, I was literally uploading this like 74-minute film to their like Dropbox.
Yeah.
And it had to be in by midnight. And I was like watching it. The time was just going up and up and up. And it's like 11 p.m. I'm like, oh gosh, is this going to make it? Is this going to make it?
Load.
And literally I was like 11:59, boom, accepted. And, I was like, oh, I did it. Took the challenge, went through the challenge. you know, out of 22,000 films, I was not selected that year for Sundance, but I was selected for multiple other film festivals for this specific film. And so it sold out in Seattle, it sold out in Palm Springs, it ended up being acquired by IndieFlix, and then all these different things started happening. I started getting asked to speak at events, and I was like, this is fun. I started getting asked to speak at schools and regarding filmmaking and video and storytelling, and it really just excited me. And then before it was picked up by IndieFlix, we had the opportunity to put snippets, short form content, onto YouTube.
Yeah.
So we'd take like the most inspiring pieces from these people's stories in this documentary, and we put it on YouTube. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, let's just get it out there.
You're editing and cutting, and yeah, it's all fine.
I did it all. That was me. I don't do any of that now, but like it's way too time consuming. I have an amazing team that does everything for our company, which I'm super grateful at this point. But I've been there. I know about it. I know, you know, people, I know when people are BSing me, I'm like, no, it does not take that much. Like, I know everything about every aspect of YouTube, editing, producing, directing, even script writing. Like, it was all the classes that I took, right? And so it was great though to see. So within like, I think the first like 10 days, we had over 888,000 views to a channel. And then we turned around and created a brand for the film and did marketing and all this stuff that started taking off and getting accepted to other films. And so I was like, this is crazy. So I was like, well, I like wanted to know why these videos were taking off. First, they were compelling. They were in a specific niche. They were, you know, all these things. So it got me thinking, well, how can I help other people do this, or how can I help other people do it? So how can we help people do it, or how can I teach people to do this? Like I wanted to learn this YouTube beast, right? And so later on in life, like that always stuck with me. I had started a production company that was always through like inspiring brand storytelling. But in the beginning, like over 10 years ago, when we were doing these types of pieces of content, you know, you could have these really compelling pieces, but it was like one-off projects for clients, right? It didn't make sense. You can't scale a model if you're having always just customize all the time. Like you can scale to a certain extent, but if you really want to make multi-million dollars and scale up even more, then you need to have systems in place, and you have to find something that people want, right, and be able to scale it. And so later on in life, I had a client that literally was like, she like said like what this team was doing for her. She's like, I want your team to do this. And so it was a focus of still the same thing, like long form content turned into micro content. Same thing we did with the film like years back. And I was like, huh, that's a good idea. I was like, well, our focus has always been video. She's like, well, why can't it be video podcasts?
There you go.
She was like, so many people listen to podcasts. I was like, good point. And so so then we turned around and we went into this whole method of shifting from a production company to turning into a content marketing agency with the focus of podcasts. Yeah. And in the beginning, I didn't really want to do it, right? Because I was like, well, no, we're so good at this, and we tell the story, and you know, I'm like, you can tell a story just as effectively as I am right now on a podcast. Right. You know, I just didn't have all the creative B-roll, you know, and stuff like that. But it's just a different medium that we know that millions and probably now billions of people listen to podcasts at this point. They're all over the place. Yeah. And so that was our shift. And we turned a content marketing agency years back in that shift. And then we doubled down on that and figured out different systems. But that was really like how it started from filmmaking. Yeah. You know, same process, understanding how to optimize YouTube. So we have a very specific focus for our clients too. So we actually provide the market research on what people should be recording their topics on, right? So like how like my podcast, it's with intention, video marketing for business, because it's actually searched over 1,000 times a month on YouTube and Google. Yeah. So it's not super highly competitive, but it is over 1,000 searches a month. So my name populates on the first page of YouTube and Google for that podcast. So it's super smart. It's smart marketing. Yeah, for sure. So
first of all, it's an amazing story. And it's amazing how like certain people kind of came into your life at the right times and introduced you to some of the right people, and like things happen for a reason. And here we are today now with you and a very successful content marketing agency doing this video podcasts. And, my audience, I think, is probably very interested in, knowing what you know about micro content, about video podcasts, and what makes them successful. So I want to kind of frame our conversation in three key areas: tactical, practical, and philosophical. I heard you talking about kind of the idea of micro content. So let's jump into kind of the real tactical recommendation, right? So you're obviously big proponent of long form content, but then breaking it down into this micro content. So I think the big difference maker is like, how is it that you choose? Like there's you've got this long, 74-minute thing. How do you choose that micro content? So in your experience, like, can you share with the audience what plays well, or what if they're kind of tasked with choosing the micro content, like what is it that you think people should be looking for?
Yeah, well, we have a very specific system for the way that we choose it. And there's some new updated systems that we've tried as well with AI. And so, but what I'm seeing is there's a lot of talk right now about AI taking over this and this, and AI can replace your copywriters and XYZ. It can be true to some extent, but a person is still a person. And you can still kind of tell a difference with things. And AI is purely pulling stuff from either a transcript as well as a person could do, or they're pulling information from the internet. So they're just regurgitating things that people already can find. And so the way that we process to select the most profound statements is we currently have our copywriters transcribe the entire episode, and then they go in and they select specific points. So they're reviewing the transcript, they're listening to the podcast, a lot of them actually, we put the copywriters on the accounts that they're actually interested in, right? Because you want to motivate a team to stay interested in something. If somebody just is coming to a job just to have a job, like, you're not going to be a part of my team because we want to be a part of a culture, and you have to be passionate about what you do. So the majority of our copywriters are really passionate about like listening and seeing like what is the statistics, but we also provide flow for our clients in the beginning. So if you're talking about how 7 ways to buy a business, right? So then we're obviously having our clients talk about these 7 ways to buy a business, and those 7 ways are going to be turned into micro content. So that's one simple way to do it. If it's more of a conversational piece, they're going to go through and find those most compelling points from the host as well as the guest, depending on the format of the show. So they're going in and they're highlighting these pieces, and they're turning around and they're choosing those. And then it goes back to our producers to overview to see if they agree that this is compelling enough for social. So it goes through different processes and people to agree on the most compelling points. And we'll give feedback saying, I don't believe this is strong enough. Can you help make this better? Or can you find a different point? And so it's really about working with a team to do that. Again, you can use something like an AI tool, like Jasper or Chat GPT or whatever the new one is, but they're not going to they can do something fast, but when somebody like a human and a person connects as well with understanding what other people are going to enjoy, that I think also works.
Well, I think you bring up 2 like really great points. So like one is those AI bots are going to be pulling stuff from the internet. And so it's kind of like, we don't want to just have a piece of content that somebody's already talked about, right? Like we're not trying to match our content to content that already exists, because that's boring. We want to have unique, new content.
I think there's going to be a point where it could cross the line, and I already see it happening, where people are trusting these AI systems that are out and that have been out this last year and some longer. People just weren't using them. So there's a big hype on it right now, but the fact, if they turn around and use some of that content, they need to be aware that, if it's not sourced or cited correctly, it's considered plagiarism.
Right.
you know, and there's going to be some things going on where people are like, they pull like something, or they put a quote or something, like people could get in trouble, to be honest. Like if you just think about the bigger picture, like why not redefine it and create stuff? You know, we're pulling it from the words of the people, you know, and if they quote somebody else, of course, we're going to give credit to that person that they quote.
Right.
So there's some, you know, gray lines in there for, I think that, but there's definitely ways that can be helpful though.
Yeah. And the second thing that I heard you say that I think is like really cool is that you have people who are in their jobs because they're passionate about it. And so it does sometimes like take a human to be able to like interpret the words of another human and say, oh, like that brings me kind of good feelings, or that gives me energy, or like the way in which that was even stated, the tonation, the intonation that was used, whatever it might be, like that hit me, like that made me feel something. And I think that will make someone else feel the same thing. And yeah, AI isn't there yet for sure. And I think it's cool that you have teams and like multiple lenses, multiple people who are maybe like trying to pass that filter. Did that make you feel the way it made me feel? Because if it did, then when we publish it, it's going to make everybody who sees it feel that same way, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, you never want to lose that human touch. And I think that as the world changes and evolves and we have more robotic things and electric this and electric that, you know, it's I mean, what is it right now? They are, I don't know if you've read this, but they're now looking at how to turn air into energy. I know they've been doing it, but they are looking to potentially power cars by air.
Yeah.
You know, like, which is very smart. I try to wrap my brain around it because I was like, I'm like, I know I'm a smart person, but I was like, I'm just like, what is this technology or this tool that they're like creating where they'll create energy, of course, from air, and then we don't need our Tesla batteries anymore. Like it's going to evolve, and we're always going to need like evolution and changing. But I still believe like that personal touch. It's still that communication factor. I think is probably you and I in our younger years. Like I don't know about you, but I got a cell phone when I was 18 years old, and you know the majority of kids now have cell phones, and you know the communication is different now through text and messaging and you know Instagram, and you know I have people like they like message me over here, but it used to be the point of just having a conversation that could bring people together, and I think it's changed over the years. It's just evolved, but there's still people that we can talk to. So
yeah, for sure. So thinking about kind of the practical side of things as well, you know, focusing still on video podcasts. You know, there's like statistics out there. I don't know the statistics, you might know that, but like there's statistics out there that like 90% of businesses fail or something like that. And when I look at like podcasts, and when I look at like people who are invested, they got 30, 40 episodes in, and they just don't have really subscribers. They don't have their views are pretty low, right? There's just a lot of people who are putting energy into doing these things and having these conversations. What do you think kind of sets the people apart? The people who are actually successfully growing their audience, getting people to watch their channel. Like, what is it that they are doing, or what are like the key pillars to like a successful YouTube podcast?
Well, we primarily work with individuals and company owners. So we have a prerequisite basically to work with us. So if you're coming in at a level of, I'm doing this as a hobby, or I don't have a business, or I have a job and I have a side hustle, like that's not primarily who we work with, because a lot of the people out there that I've seen that have podcasts because they're talking about something that they're passionate about. But you can't even imagine how many people I've like talked to where the podcast they create has nothing to do with their business.
Right.
And so it always like shocks me, because I'm like, well, why not create a podcast that has conversations about what your business is? Are you not passionate about your business enough to create a podcast to drive lead generation or conversations to have more sales for that company?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think people, and it could be just because somebody wants to start something because they're passionate about it and they see it as a hobby and they don't see themselves creating a business out of this particular topic. But I've seen that several times. We have a client that we just took over his podcast, and we just helped him redefine it and start bringing on different types of guests, because he has a commercial real estate firm, and he's at the point where he has over 500 million in assets, and he can do what he wants at this point, right?
Right.
But his goal is to become an even more industry leader for people to go to in the commercial real estate place and have people invest within their firm. And so I said, well, you're interviewing all these people because they just have influence. They're cool people, cool conversations. But if you're building offers where you're going to be becoming a keynote speaker, an industry leader in commercial real estate, you need to really focus on this.
Right.
And he was open to the change and shift, because one of my power partners, he's working with him on his core offers now that we'll be launching this year to help him position himself better as a commercial real estate investor and things like that. And so it's like being really defined on what your podcast is about. What's the overall goal? Are you going to make money from this? If you're like, I'm just doing it for fun, it's an outlet, that's totally fine. Like,
Right.
but if you're looking to build something, you need to be able to direct people back to something that you have a core offer or company or business. So like mine's video marketing for business. Of course, that makes sense for me because we use video marketing through our business business to help promote on the side of podcasts. And so you have to be super intentional with that and really set those goals. So like, to be able to have a successful podcast, there are specific strategies to be able to launch successfully. We just launched a sales podcast for a new client. We launched 3 new client podcasts this last Tuesday alone. One of them was a sales podcast. They ended up started ranking in business and marketing the first week. They were number 97 in business and marketing in the US, 87 in Canada, and they ranked 20 in Mexico. We're like, cool.
Wow.
Because we helped them retain and get the audience to react, leave reviews, leave comments, leave stars. Like when you push it out of the gate, that's one way to rank your podcast, and to continuously ask new audience members to leave reviews to rank your podcast and get more downloads. And so like there's different things to think about, like what is your overall show? Do you have an offer? Or do you have a large enough audience where you could get sponsorships or partnerships? One of our clients, she doesn't pay for our services at all. The last like year and a half, because we taught her over time how to build relationships after her content went viral.
Wow.
People were approaching her. So she has partnerships with George Washington University. She does a whole season of series with other organizations, and they cover the cost of the show and everything that we do, even through grants. I mean, who would have thought you could get grants for your podcast? Sponsorships, partnerships. Like think about ways to make money. Do you want to make money off the show itself, or do you want to lead people back to your service or your offer or your coaching package or your course? What is it? Make sure you have those things in place and you know the clear direction before you even start your show. Like you want to lead people to work with you as well.
Yeah.
So just some things to think about. That's just how my brain thinks.
Yeah, no, I think it is great. I'll be honest, like we've been doing this now for a while, and I have been rethinking a little bit about like, the content and the title of the show and the audience members, right? And who's actually listening. So I think it's super important. I mean, we're going to be doing a little more work in that regard. It sounds like your company helps a lot of people do that. So it's great advice. So the last thing I wanted to kind of touch on today, and then we'll be out of time, is more on like the kind of business and philosophical side. So when we were prepping for this, you talked about the book, The Go-Giver, and how it asserts that we should, in business, shift our focus from getting to giving and putting others' interests first, adding value to others, and that leads to results. So can you talk a little bit about the Go Giver and about how it's kind of shaped your philosophy, maybe how you operate your business or think about business today?
Of course. Yeah. So The Go Giver is one of my favorite books. I know Bob Berg, the author.
Okay.
I actually asked him if he'd speak at one of my events back in 2019. And I was like, I would like to buy your book and give it out to my entire audience. I bought a couple books that year for my audience. So I had his book, and then I had my buddy Sean Cannell's book and YouTube Secrets. And then what really I've learned is, even after reading the book, The Go Giver, like I realized that I lived by his philosophy anyways of, being a go-giver and being a part of go-giver communities where people think the same. You could have people come up to you easily and say, like, how can I help you? Right? Like, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And a lot of people, I think, are hearing the verbiage at this point, but they might not follow through with it. So it's about, like, if you say, like, hey, how can I help you, Josh? Like, what, who can I introduce you to that might be a big power partner, or who's your dream 100 list? Like, I always teach our team and our clients to create their dream 100 list. Like, who is it that you want to connect with? Who is your ideal client? Who, if you could meet anybody, even if it's a singer or a basketball player, whatever, like who are these people that you want to connect yourself with in life and business? And so I'm very intentional with that. But what I've seen is, over the years, is even before I read the book, I would always approach people with the value add first and see, because I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to show people what our team and our company could do. Mm-hmm. So, in the sense of providing value, sharing a creation or a story or making an introduction to somebody, like it can go like an extra mile, or a way of like getting somebody's attention in a way that they'll remember you, right? In a positive way. And so I've done a lot of crazy things, like sent like, influencers or celebrities, got stuff in front of them, like items, gifts, like, but thoughtful, like, sure. What can I do? Or, get their attention in some way where they actually want to have a conversation with me. Or, and it's crazy because back in the day, I used to use Twitter first, back in the day when Twitter was cool. I mean, it's still cool, but I had done some crazy things and reached out, and I had Lori Greiner from Shark Tank follow me on Twitter, started having a conversation with her and her team. I had got Marcus Lemonis to follow me back on Twitter years back, had conversations with his team. I went through the gatekeepers. And then later on in life, after that, I spoke on stage with Marcus Lemonis in 2017. I have one of our clients as a power partner with Marcus Lemonis now. Like, it's about being like connecting the dots of how you can help people first, and then things can open up, because people always like write emails, they make calls, they're like, I, me. And I'm like, who? Like I was like on Twitter, I'm like, they don't know me. There's no reason they need to respond to me. Right, yeah. I'm like, there's no reason. So what can I do to get people to respond to me? So that was the first way I kind of like gave in the aspect of trying to build connections first. And now it's just embedded in my life, like to be able to give unconditionally to our clients, to my colleagues, to my power partners, people that are going to be referral partners, because I know it's going to reciprocate. So those people that shift their mindset to think like that as well, it's really amazing to see when people come together. I'm a part of several masterminds, and one of the masterminds that I'm in, they constantly talk about being a go-giver mastermind. There's 300 people in there, and you can imagine what you can do with 300 brains and 300 people say, like, hey, who can I introduce you to? Hey, like, just ask. And so, and that was the other thing, is the other book, The Power of the Ask, basically. You give and you ask. Yeah. So don't be afraid to ask either, though. So don't get overwhelmed if you're like, give, because you do want to be selective of who you give to, because there are the takers. Sure. So you'll start to realize who those people are when you don't see anything in reciprocation, but maybe they're not the type of person that until you ask. But then when you ask, they will, actually be like, oh yeah, sure. Totally, like
I can do that
these
for
people
you.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so like, that's what I've learned is you give and you ask, and don't be afraid to ask. And then the power of the follow-up is key.
Yeah.
And then through that mentality, like people, like even Gary V said like somewhere years back, he's like, I used to follow up with people at least 12 times. And I did that in business after I heard that years ago. I was like, I followed up. And if people didn't respond, most people just like, they're like, that was the other thing. People are like, Tamara, I love your persistence. The passion and
Beat them
persistence.
into submission. Either
Well,
they're
it's 'cause
saying
people
no or
are
yes, but give me an
busy,
answer. Yeah.
Well, people are busy. And then all of a sudden on like that 7th email, you have like these people that are like wowed, and that, well, I'm sure some could be annoyed, but the way you approach it, as long as it's not about me and it's about them at all cost, you will get that response as long as you can get it in front of the decision maker or that gatekeeper or whoever you're trying to get in touch with. And so that's really helped. And I continuously still do this today. And when people ask me to do things, I'll be like, yes, you say yes to success. That was one of my mentors like quotes. But also say no when it's not meant to be. Like you have to put boundaries up too. But like back in October, I had gotten COVID, and I was sick for quite a couple of months actually before that. And I literally got a text message from my friend Randy Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook Live, Mark's sister. And she was like, this was a Monday? I think it was, Sunday night. Hey, so I think my golf tournament buddy is bailing on me. And I know this is a quick ask, but if I fly you out tomorrow,
can you play with
playing a golf tournament on Tuesday in New York, are you in? Please say yes.
Yeah.
And it's like Sunday night, like 8 p.m. I'm like getting over COVID. I still like I'm not contagious, but I'm like, are my lungs ready for the golf course in New York? Right. Cold weather. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I'll be there.
It's like you like build these relationships with people though too. It's like being different, and but I've always built relationships with people over the years, like influencers, clients, things like that, but they're also now long-term friends, and that you help provide for them too. No matter what you do, you can provide for people too.
Yeah.
So
and it may just be as simple as being their golf buddy one day. So
yeah,
super cool.
It's funny because that relationship really started. I had actually hired Randy to speak at one of our events in 2019, and then when COVID hit, it was great because she took up golf, and I had golfed since I was 9, and we became golf buddies during COVID and past, and it just brought us even closer together as colleagues, investors, and different things together. But it was cool you can build a relationship with people on different levels, right? And so it's cool to do business on the golf course and have fun while doing it, and find out what people like, or help encourage them to do better at it, or step into that confidence, to do that next thing like golf. So
well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I definitely feel like the Go Giver is something that I've tried to emulate and maybe have done naturally in a lot of ways in my life and business. But it's worth a read. Also worth tuning in to the Video Marketing for Business podcast. So Tamara, I really want to thank you for being here today, and we'll be seeing you out there online.
I appreciate you for having me on the show today, Josh. Thank you.
Thanks.